on how strong your negative emotion attachment is, you will have different feelings about such losses. So you can do an experiment with this kind of situations. How would you feel if you're deprived of this or deprived of that? How would you feel? So this will tell you how strong is your attachment and so forth. Attachment, as I said, is not like anger, which is immediately like harsh and make your mind completely turbulent and agitated. Attachment comes in a very softer way, in a very soft way, in a friendly manner. But the long-term damage done by attachment can be more severe and destructive than anger. Anger, hatred, they come and it's like a violent, hurricane. A violent hurricane comes and does all the destruction and leaves everything ruin and disappear. But attachment doesn't come like that. It comes in a very friendly way. Come with me. Let's enjoy. Let's go to nightclub. I will look after the expenses.
It's the difference between attachment and love.
Love? Are you talking about ordinary love or real love?
No. But if you have an
Ordinary
attachment
love.
to the person and you love the person, it should be
Very fine, very fine line.
their attachment. Yeah.
Normally we love person with attachment. Ordinarily speaking, our love is alloyed with attachment. So therefore the Buddhist teachings are saying you can love that person without attachment. And when you hear this for the first time, what? How can I do this? Because in your understanding, or in our understanding, ordinary understanding of love, it means get sucked into that person. Tie your neck with that person. How much I love you. Be together physically. But the Buddhist teaching says, no. As somebody, not only Buddhist, but somebody with wisdom said, love is not how many times you touch each other, but how many times you reach each other. You reach each other. That means meaningly, mentally how you reach each other, how much you care about person. It's not so much physical touching, hugging, Then ordinary love is a love-hate relationship, It comes together. Now you're loving, the next time you're fighting, love-hate relationship. The genuine loving kindness, you love that person. The ordinary love, you love that person because this one is my husband. This one is my children. My. It's like love. You're the reason. You're the reason. As soon as that person changes his or her attitude towards you in terms of loving you, you also change your attitude. That person is not loving me anymore, so I also stop loving. So that is called business love. You give me, I give you. That's business love, you see. But the Buddhist teaching, when we talk about cultivating loving kindness, we are saying that you love other people because just like you, they also want happiness, do not want suffering. After all, if somebody asks you why you love so much yourself, it's primarily because you want happiness, not want suffering. Therefore, you love yourself and try your best to take care of yourself. So similarly, you love others, not because they belong to you or they're your relatives and friends, but because they want happiness, not suffering. And secondly, not only that they are same like you wanting happiness, not wanting suffering, but you are related to these people. You're connected to these people. So how well they will fare in their life is very much dependent to how good you will fare in your life also. Because your flourishment of life, your success, does not come in the vacuum. It comes in relation to other people. So that's the reason. So therefore, you are saying that I'm not loving this person because this person belongs to me, but because she wants happiness, do not want suffering. So that means even if that other person changes his or her attitude, still you will love. Not necessarily declaring that I love you. That's what we need to do all the time, you see. I love you so much. I love you so much. You have to repeatedly tell this, confirm this in the ordinary sense to make sure that other person is not changing his or her attitude. And then love is not so genuine. That's why also probably you have to repeat this again and again. Like as His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, the Chinese government has to repeat that Tibet is part of China, Tibet is part of China, Tibet is part of China, Tibet is part of China. That's their mantra. Because Tibet is not part of China. If it is part of China, then why do they have to say this again? It's part of China. Simply treat them nicely like other Chinese people. When it is not, then you have to repeat. So similarly, I may be wrong. This is something that came in my mind just now by talking, you see. So similarly, when in ordinary love, you have to repeat this mantra, I love you, because something is not functioning very well. If it's functioning well, you don't need to repeat. It's understandable, you see. The husband and wife understand each other, so you don't have to repeat, you see. When you're not so sure, then you have to repeat, you see. Probably, I'm not so sure. Probably. So my point was, it is important to identify each of these destructive negative emotions clearly so that you are able to distance yourself from their harms. These negative emotions are your sworn enemy, real enemy, because they will do the greatest damage to you, your country, your society, your community. The negative emotions can do the greatest damage. For example, say in Israel, you have certain enemies in the neighborhood, let us say. So you start thinking that the greatest damage is done by enemy. But if you reflect and think carefully, much of the damage is done within the country. People who are corrupt, exploitative, still you see as part of yourself and who are constantly with you, they do the greatest damage. Not the enemy somewhere outside. So that's why whenever there's an opportunity for me to speak to the younger Tibetan generation, I always tell them that simply criticizing the Chinese wrongdoing will not address the issue, will not solve the problem. First, you need to have harmony within the Tibetan community. First, there should be economical upliftment among the Tibetan generation. There should be proper education among the Tibetan generation. So if you take these internal matters carefully and build the house first, your own house in order, as we say, then you can easily deal with external situations, problems. And you will be strong enough so that others will have to pay attention to you. That's my fundamental belief. Like in terms of your physical health also, mental health also, if you take care of yourself properly, in terms of the food you eat, in terms of the things that you think about, when you are healthy, happy, then it means physically you are fit, nice looking, healthy, happy. People will get attracted to you. People will get attracted to you, to your physical health, to your mental health. You will have many more friends. You don't have to invite, they'll come to you, believe me. But if you don't take care of yourself, your physical health is not so situation, not so good. Your way of thinking is also disruptive, not so good. Then your friends you have, they will slowly, they'll go away. You see, because people don't want to stay around a person. There's volatile, negative and things like that. So the most important thing, if you want to achieve something, that you be good, you be strong, you take care of yourself, then everything will fall into the right order, right places. But people ordinarily they don't do their homework, but simply talk about things that if I had this opportunity, I would be different. I will do this, do that. If Tibet is free, then we'll do this, we'll do that. Now in Tibet, there's no religious freedom. So therefore, very difficult. People keep on, harping on things that they cannot do. Instead of thinking on those things which you can do. Yes, in Tibet, there's no freedom. That's true. But in India, where we live, is there freedom? Yes. Then why you're not doing? If you're so interested in preserving Tibetan culture, religion, why you're not doing? I'm not saying people are not doing at all, but not enough. There's the Tibetan example. The same example applies to every individual family or every community in every part of the world. This is the human weakness. Human beings are like that, you see. Now you're here in Israel, you're thinking about moving to some other country, thinking grass is green around the other side. Then you go there and look back, did I come from there? That also looks very nice. Then you want to come back. It's human. If you don't know how to live, wherever you go, there will be problem. There will be difficulties. So therefore, the Buddhist teachings are saying that making this very human life as a heaven, as a kind of heaven, is the first thing that you need to do. Enjoying, appreciating facilities that are there at your disposal. Appreciate that. Then start doing things. Stop talking, start walking, as we say. Then things will flourish. Things will flourish. If you don't do things, you expect something, and have some great ideas, it will not solve the problem. People will not judge you what you are thinking. You judge yourself by what you think you can do. You judge yourself by what you think you can do. But people will judge you what you are doing or what you have done. You have great ideas. And you think, this, I'm special, But you have done nothing, so who will appreciate? So therefore, stop talking, start going. That's the thing. That's the road to success. So in the case of these negative emotions, they are sworn enemy because they are, as I give you the example of the ordinary enemies also. The main disruption comes from within the country, then from the outside. I visited many countries, and some of these places I had an opportunity to spend more time and talk to the people also. So I found that there are countries which had experienced a lot of trouble in the past. People have suffered so much, but now they are independent. But again, now actually the desirable thing is now you are an independent country, so therefore everybody, those who hold high posts as the president, prime minister, the ministers, whoever, they should now really be clean and don't engage in corruption and really work hard to, help people and make development in the country. But people will not do. They'll again engage in corruption. They'll again not work for the upliftment of the people. The same cycle. Now to whom you will complain? Earlier you can say this is the enemy, we can fight. Now your own people are doing that. So what is the difference? You see? So therefore, like that, the internal negative emotions. If you compare the ordinary enemy outside, then the enemy inside, the ordinary enemy comes from outside. So you can fight with them. You can fortify yourself. Or if you cannot fight, run away from them. If you're caught, you say, excuse me, spare my life. I will do whatever you say. They might spare your life. And also possibility that they treat you much better. But from these afflictive emotions that's within yourself, where are you going to run? Wherever you run, it's coming with you. Even when you sleep, they are there. Not only they are there within your mind, but they have already captured the headquarters of your mind. The self-cherishing attitude and the self-grasping mind. The two sworn enemy, as I said already. Where are they? They've captured your headquarters. And not only captured their headquarters, but nobody is fighting against them, so they are relaxing, giving orders, get angry, develop irritation, develop hatred. Okay, enjoy. Sipping nice cup of tea, and sitting there relaxing. Nobody's even challenging. Nobody's even seeing these things as negative, destructive, and enemy. That's the problem. How many people see this internal afflictive emotions as destructive enemy? It's primarily in the Buddhist teachings. We take it for granted. Oh, this is part of human nature. Even after having done so much damage, but still say it's part of human nature. How stupid we are. So therefore, Buddhist practice means now bringing about revolution. Change the leaders in the headquarters of your mind. Kick out the self-cherishing attitude and self-grasping mind, and replace them by bodhicitta and wisdom, understanding, emptiness. So Tibetan word for dharma or religion is chu, which means change. So if you change your mental attitude from the negative to the positive, that's dharma practice. Changing your mind from the negative to the positive, that is your dharma practice. So that is the thing. So long as you don't do that, there will be not much progress. But at the same time, the good news is that in the case of the external enemy, even if you defeat them today, they'll take time to revenge you, come back. But these negative emotions, once you banish it, they have no other place to go and come back. So that's good news. So it's only because our effort is weak that we are not able to fight with these negative emotions. And then, of course, due to this negative, a lot of negative emotions and karma, when you die, you don't disappear into nothingness. You carry that habit with you, and accordingly you experience fruit, the law of causality, the karma. And what kind of experience you will have after the death is not so much dependent upon what kind of feeling you have near the death. Although many teachings, they say that the mind at the time of death should be peaceful, calm, and virtuous. Yes, it will have its impact. But that does not mean to say that you do all the bad things throughout your life, and near death you cultivate a positive emotion and everything will be fine. No. What kind of life will be determined is very much and primarily dependent upon how you have lived your life than the few moments of positive thinking that you had at the time of death. There's no cheating. There's no cheating. And now, since we have, somebody raised this question also, now since we have accumulated so many karmas in so many past lives, so after death, which of these karmas will give their fruit first? which of these karmas will give their fruit first. So the text says that out of these countless karmas, whichever is the heaviest, that will give its fruit first. If there are 2-3 karmas, we are very similar in terms of heaviness, then whichever karma you have done quite recently, that will give it its fruit first. Even on that level it is same, then in whichever karma you are more habituated, that will give it its fruit first, and so forth. So again, this clearly shows the habit. Whichever negative emotion more habituated, it will become manifest at the time of the death. And at the time of the death, since nobody wants to die, you have very strong clinging to yourself. You develop fear of losing this body, losing this self. And that craving, grasping to the self, which is a negative emotion, afflictive emotion, becomes the main factor for projecting your life and for the rebirth. So as soon as you die, then you go into that state which is called the intermediate state. Okay. So just as we spoke about the 4 features of truth of the suffering, similarly there are 4 features of the truth of the origin of suffering. The first feature is the feature of cause, as I said, the cause of rebirth, cause of suffering, and so forth. Because these afflictive emotions and contaminated actions, they are the cause, because they are the cause of suffering, of a causal factor. The second feature is called thorough origination. Thorough origination means not only they will act as the cause and produce just one suffering, but they will produce suffering again and again repeatedly, thoroughly. So the thorough source, it is called the complete source. The third feature is called intense production. Intense production, meaning that if you have accumulated afflictive emotions and karma, you will produce intense suffering as the fruit. It's also called a factor, a condition, not just a cause, but also a condition, because it acts as a, for example, the craving. For example, as I said earlier, just before death, you develop this very strong craving to your body, and that craving then acts as a cooperative condition for the next rebirth. Therefore, this is called the condition, cooperative condition. There may be many other factors, but this craving will also act as a very important factor for the next rebirth. So these are the 4 features of the true source of the origin of suffering. So I have more or less explained the meaning of afflictive emotions, how destructive they are, why it is important to remove them. And then karma. Some of you have attended my other workshops also, but karma basically means action. Do good, have good, do bad, have bad. So that means karma. So there are different kinds of karmas. Enough. Next.
It's to work.
Huh?
It's to work. Next is to work.
Next is what?
To work. To work.
To work.
Work.
To work.
Work.
To work. To walk. To walk the talk.
To work.
Then here, if I explain a little bit about 12 links of dependent origination. No. Second.
2 seconds?
Yeah.
The causes of suffering?
Hmm?
The second number?
12 links of dependent origination. 12 links of dependent origination. 12 members or links of this comes from
אבל 12 החוליות התלויות.
של ההתהוות התלויות.
12 החוליות של ההתהוות התלויות.
ההתהוות
התלויה. מה זה ההתהוות התלויה?
או ההתהוות התלות?
התהוות התלויה.
So earlier we spoke about how to aspire to achieve liberation from the sufferings of the samsara. So there we already discussed about the suffering and the origin of suffering. So now we are reflecting on the 12 links of dependent origination. Okay.
Is it Tibetan?
Huh?
Tibetan, 12 links of dependent origination.
What?
In Tibetan.
Yeah, Tendel Chuni.
Tendel Chuni.
Tendel Chuni. 12 members of dependent origination. You've never heard about this? 12 links of dependent origination. That means how you get entrapped in the samsara. So, in the Dharma, Friends of Israel, you have a big map of 12 links of dependent origination. Yes, here, yeah. So here. So we can go there and study there. Yeah. There will be. So that you will be able to know that the Dharma teaching does not have to be sitting all the time.
Here?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Right, can we put that picture?
צריך להוריד, לא?
לא.
לאן עומד?
Use the chair. Yeah.
נמצא בחלק ממש.
Yeah. They draw this. We look like many people do it differently. So
We have another one.
this should be okay.
Should be okay?
Yeah,
This should be okay?
it should be okay. Then I sit down, maybe. Okay.
If you want to show it.
Yeah, so I will quickly And so this whole thing is called the wheel of life. It's drawn like in a wheel to show that how we get entrapped and in this wheel. Sometimes born here, sometimes born here, sometimes born here, like that. Okay. So this 6 partitions here, how many? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 partitions. These are called 6 migrations. 6 existences. Okay. 6 existences. So out of this, these 6 existences are said to be represent suffering actually. The sufferings in these 6 existences, 3 bad existences, 3 good existences, but still there are a lot of suffering. Suffering of human being, hungry ghost, hell being, animals, and so forth, as I explained earlier. So these sufferings come primarily from the 3 in the center, which are symbolized by these 3 animals: the snake, a pig, and a bird. Okay, and the bird. It may be peacock or pigeon or whatever. Okay. So normally they draw. I think it's a drawing like that here. You will see the tail of the 2 animals, the bird and the snake, coming from the mouth of the pig. The pig symbolizes ignorance. As we discussed already, ignorance is the root cause of all problem, all ill emotions. So to denote that, you have the pig, and from his mouth comes the snake, which represents hatred or anger, and then the bird, which symbolizes attachment. Normally they have a pigeon. Pigeon is said to be very fond of attachment. Okay. Anyway, something like that. So they are the real like motivating force for all our sufferings and afflictive emotions. And then depending upon what kind of karma we do, we are born into this. There are 2 possibilities. One side is black, another side is white. The white side symbolizes doing positive things. You go up, if you do the positive things, you go all the way all down. Then black side, go all the way down, headlong down, falling down. Okay. So the way we get entrapped, and then the six realms, sometimes they have only 5 partitions. When they include the demigods into the god, then there are only 5 divisions. But otherwise, if you separate the demigods from the gods, because the gods and the demigods, they keep on fighting. It is said that there's a tree. See, you can see the tree which grows from the realm of the demigod, but goes into the realm of the god. So the fruit is there. So they end up eating the fruit of the tree which grows in their region. So all the time, you see, they say things like that. So therefore, like this demigod means like you're not really a god. You are so much fond of fighting, Okay, just like if somebody does, a human being, and somebody does bad things, then we say, oh, you're not a human being. So something like that. So sometimes they are put separately. If there's 5, then they are counted as 1. Then we have the realm of probably this human beings. I think this is human realm, where you have nice houses and things like that. This is realm of human beings. Then you have the realm of animals. Then you have the realm of the hungry ghost. I think this is probably hungry ghost. Or maybe I don't know. Then I think this is the realm of the hell. So again, within the hell there are so many divisions. Probably talking about all those divisions here. Anyway, that you get into 6 states due to the 12 links of dependent origination, which is explained here. That which I was trying to explain, the 12 links of dependent origination. So out of the 12 links of the dependent origination, starts from here, I think. This symbolizes ignorance. This symbolizes ignorance. This is a blind man. A blind man, cannot find his or her way. So ignorance is like that. If you have ignorance, then you will not be able to find your way. In the text also it says, just as when there is a big darkness, then you will not be able to see the physical forms that is existing there outside. So therefore, when we talk about ignorance here in the 12 links of dependent origination, there are two types of ignorances. One is ignorance with regard to the law of causality, then another is the ignorance with regard to the ultimate reality, the shunyata. Okay. So here, when we talk about ignorance, we are primarily talking about this ignorance of the way things exist. And because of this, then you are, projected into the next life, next rebirth. So out of these 12 links of dependent origination, they are categorized into 4 sections: the projecting cause, the actualizing cause, the projected fruit, and actualized fruit. So out of these 12 links of dependent origination, the first, ignorance, the second, action, and the third, consciousness on which the imprint of that action is left. These 3 are called the projecting cause. Projecting cause. Then we have craving and grasping, and then the empowered state of the karma, which is the 10th existence, we call it. So these are the actualizing cause. And then, depending on that, this causal consciousness, which is the third consciousness, this gradually enters into the womb of the mother. Okay, and then you will get what is called the consciousness of the fruit, which means the feeling, recognition, discrimination, which are called these 3 kind of states of consciousness is called name. And then you have this physical form, which is the mixture of the semen and the blood from the father and the mother. So that is called form, name and form. So then likewise you have the 6 senses, and also contact, and then also feeling. So these are the projected fruit. And then we have finally we have the dependent origination of birth, and then aging and death. So these last 3 are called actualized fruit. So this is how it is explained. So therefore, now this symbolizes, this blind old man symbolizes ignorance, just as a blind man will not be able to see his way, find his path. So similarly, when you have ignorance, you will not be able to find the correct path. The second is the action. Here in this case, a person who is in action, making a potter, making a mud pot. So he's a potter. The action is represented by a potter. And third is consciousness. Our mind is, we compare mind to, this is represented by the mind, which is always like moving around and not settled. And then fourth, name and form, as I already explained. Then the 6 senses, just as when you construct the house, you have some doors. The senses are like doors. Then contact, touch. Here you can see male and female union, contact, and then from this contact gets feeling. Feeling. And then from their feeling then rises so here somebody drinking wine, craving. When you develop feeling of goodness, badness, suffering, happiness, then you crave more of it. Then you have grasping. And when you crave and enjoy that, right, just as this person trying to grab the fruit on the tree. So you develop the grasping, which is the intensified form of craving. And then you have existence. Existence means the third consciousness that you had, which went through all this process and especially intensified by the craving and grasping. So this is now the fully empowered state of the mind, where it's ready to give fruit to the next rebirth. Okay, so you will normally find men and women lying together and giving birth or something. So next, the existence. Then you have Anyway, the next is birth. Okay, next is birth. Yeah, and then aging and death. So that's two links.
And who is taking all the?
Then this gentleman, this gentleman who is holding the whole cycle of existence, we normally call it Lord of Death.
Lot of them.
Lord of Death. But Lord of Death does not mean some scriptures and also many people interpret this as somebody who is there giving judgment, But the real meaning, this symbolizes not a person, but this symbolizes impermanence. Impermanence, including death. So we are under the grip of death and impermanence. So you cannot escape from that. We are in the fangs of the impermanence. So therefore, I recently read one book by Geshe where he says, this process of life, depicting not only as a person, then also decorating it with some ornaments. Geshe thinks this is wrong, probably. You see, so this only has to symbolize impermanence, not a real person with the decorations and things like that. So people who don't know, they just everything. They said everything is for sale. So they make so many things. Now in some places you get such horrible paintings, people make it, and those people who have no idea, it looks beautiful, they buy it, and then when we say, oh my goodness, what is this? Okay. So anyway, this is a very important thing. This is the first picture in the Buddhist history. First picture, first drawing in the Buddhist history, commissioned by Buddha himself, saying that make such a drawing. And actually the story is, I think at the time of the Indian king Bimbisara, who had a very good friend, and they were exchanging some gifts. And the one gift that he got from the other king was so priceless that he was at a loss. How can he repay that kindness? What kind of gift he can give? So he could not come any requested him. Then he commissioned to make such a drawing. Then normally we have a few lines here, which talks about how you get trapped in the samsara. So how would you get out of the samsara? So there are 3-4 verses here normally. They write those verses also. So therefore the Buddha said that every temple should have this drawing at the entrance. Every temple should have this drawing at the entrance. And there should be also, a person should be appointed. It's interesting, these things, we are not studying and practicing these things. Person should be appointed who is able to explain this properly, so that whenever people come to the temple, visit the monastery, that he is able to explain it. It's a beautiful idea, you see. So many of these things now we are not doing. That's why I'm getting up and explaining this. To say that this visual images, paintings, explaining things through paintings. That's also there in the Buddhist tradition. And it will be very, very easy for people to understand these things. You know? So we can think about using many more such paintings. Okay?
The sun and the moon are also representing something, or just
Sun and moon probably is symbolizing. The first project. The projecting force and the projected fruit. So the projected fruit starts from the fourth.
projected.
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 This is what is projected. What is projected starts from the
So name in four.
Four. Yeah.
Truth is six senses, and then this is contact, right?
yeah, exactly.
And then feelings.
Yes, then actualizing force. Actualizing force. Then the last three, actualized fruit.
This is projected fruit.
Yeah.
This is actualized fruit and projected.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So any questions? And then the third, if you no question, then the third of the Four Noble Truth is the truth of the cessation of suffering. Truth of the cessation of the suffering. The truth of the cessation of suffering here basically means nirvana, liberation, cessation of suffering. State where all the afflictive emotions with the seeds have completely ceased. So that state of cessation itself is permanent phenomena. Permanent phenomena. It's not an impermanent phenomena. Once somebody asked me that if it is a permanent phenomena, how will it help you? It will help you in the sense because you have reached that state where there is no afflictive emotions coming back. Okay. So what is important for us to understand is that these afflictive emotions, however strong, however strongly entrenched in us, but they can be eliminated. They can be reduced. As an experiment, I was saying that if you try to lessen the impact of one of the afflictive emotions within you, which is the predominant presence, and then within certain passage of time, you will be able to see that it is less. So at that time, you have obtained almost like a small state of cessation of that afflictive emotion. So from there, you can get the idea that how it is possible to achieve that state, complete state of cessation of afflictive emotions. As I already explained, that these afflictive emotions can be removed because number one, they are narrow-minded. Number two, they are not based on solid reason and foundation. They are based on misconception of the reality. They are untrue. So they can be defeated. Okay, whereas those other opponent practices like wisdom, compassion, and so forth, they are based on truth, based on reason. So they can be empowered. to banish the negative emotions. So that's good news. So that's why Buddha is not talking about just suffering and the origin of suffering, but he's also talking about achieving that high happiness in the form of total liberation from the samsara, from the influence of afflictive emotions and suffering. So that's good news. And one can, through one's own personal experience, one can know that the less you get angry, the happier you will be. I mean, small factual things like that you need to think before thinking about big things like nirvana, enlightenment, based on your own personal experience. You will realize that it is much better you smile and laugh and relax rather than you get tense and angry and unhappy. That's for sure. So with that understanding, you should intensify your effort in reducing the negative emotions and in strengthening the positive emotions. Does it make sense? There's no other way to become happier, as we already discussed. Not just money, not just friends, not just relatives and things like that. They may be of some help here and there because we are not enlightened. I'm not saying they're useless and things like that. I'm not also saying that stop the relationship. When your mind is not ready, you cannot just stop things. You need to think carefully, plan carefully, and then make a decision properly. Otherwise, you get excited by hearing the teaching. This samsara is full of suffering, and then you suddenly, decide something. Then very soon you will end up experiencing a lot of problem because you're mentally not ready. It was a kind of on-the-spot decision, without having thought properly. There's this story of a person at the time of Milarepa who was so excited by the Milarepa's way of life and his teaching. And he said, I will also follow him. And then like that, he decided, distributed all his wealth to family, friends, whatever, and made an effort to live like Milarepa. But his mind was actually not ready. But he made this decision, distributed everything. Then he started suffering because he was not ready. Then he started saying that, it was Milarepa who made me a beggar. So instead of appreciating the teacher, now you're saying bad things against him. It's Milarepa who made me the beggar. You see? So it will happen like that for you also. Some people, I've also met some people in Dharamsala who come to me and say, Geshe, I want to become a monk. I want to become a nun. So in my case, many other great teachers, they would say, oh, wonderful, this is the best thing you can do, Of course, that is wonderful. But in my case, I'm not that great like them. So I tell them, okay, it's a good idea you want to become a monk and nun, but how would you look after yourself? Nothing much to do with Dharma. On a practical level, I want to make sure that they are not becoming insane. You see? People can get insane by following up everything, then finally having nothing, We are very fond of imitating other people without properly thinking, you see. We are not so different from monkey. Just like monkey, we imitate. Whatever others are doing and have done, we imitate. And whoever does the best imitation is called the scholar. So there's a likelihood of simply like imitating somebody without personally reflecting, thinking whether you can really do it or not. So therefore I tell them that first you make sure how you're going to look after yourself. If you leave your country, say come to Dharamsala, where are you going to stay? Who is looking after your, economical needs? So one has to be practical also. In certain areas, yes, you need to be a little bit bold also, but in certain areas, you also need to be, careful what you're deciding. Okay. So that, I mean, if you don't like look, he's a, of course we cannot compare to him, but still he's a great example. I can't think about many things like His Holiness. There may be many great practitioners, but His Holiness definitely is one of them. But he's not acting abnormally. Neither he is saying that he's completely enlightened, come to him, he will remove all the sufferings, things like. He's neither saying that. Nor he is saying that I'm highly realized, or he's not even pretending that he's different from all of us. So he does the same work, they're running around, giving talks to people, meeting people, giving them suggestions, advices. He's always busy like that. Not just isolating himself and doing the retreat, meditation. I mean, I'm not saying these are bad, but there are different ways of doing things, you see. So therefore, even there is a teaching in the mind training which says, even if your thinking is as high as a divine being, but your behavior should be normal. So what I'm saying is, it is also possible, since it's possible for all of us to leave everything and go to the mountain and do a good practice. But we should also be Buddhists who are like good, kind-hearted, but also very able in the society. Do not get the impression that to do Buddhist practice means that leave all the family responsibilities, Yes, as I said, for some who really able to do it, that's a different group of people. But for most of us, we cannot just leave that responsibility like that. We are not Buddha. So you can be a wonderful example in the family, in the society, by being efficient, by being even economically successful. Having economical prosperity and money at your disposal is not the problem. The problem is your grasping. The bodhisattvas, they need so many things to help others. When you practice the Partimoksha Bhava, and your aim is to get liberation just for yourself, then the Buddhist teaching says there should be contentment. There should be contentment. But when you engage in the practice, you talk about practice of the 6 perfections. You talk about having wealth to help others and so forth. So therefore, what I'm saying is we should not disseminate this idea that to be Buddhist means you have to be a beggar, outcast in the society. That's why Buddha chose the middle way. Don't lead a life of luxury and don't also lead a life of poverty. Okay, so stop here for the good news, which is lunch. Huh? 1 o'clock? Okay. So good news is delayed. Huh?